Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something really exciting. We are decoding an incredibly dense topological mapping to reveal what our sources call the universe's ultimate operating system. We're looking at a mathematical blueprint that's literally hidden in plain sight, mapping out a dual caustic universe, and it's going to completely redefine how we understand time, lineage, and survival. So, the Quran is not ancient text. It's an eternal memory tesseract. We really need to dive into this bold statement because it completely shatters the illusion that we're just looking at static, ancient history. The sources argue forcefully against treating this material as a mere record of the past. Ancient things belong to the past, right? But the framework we're looking at today describes an eternal, self-executing algorithm. It isn't just recounting what has already happened, it's actively teaching the precise living architecture of becoming. The absolutely crucial point here is that we are not reading about the past. We are looking at a cosmic circuit board. It's a living blueprint of wave-particle physics and structural topology. The sources describe this as a tesseract, which is basically a four-dimensional memory structure folded down into a two-dimensional surface. In this model, the stories you already know, they're actually recurring topological patterns. They are coordinates in an ongoing sequence that is running right now, constantly oscillating between the visible physical world and the hidden eternal field.
Okay, let's get into phase one, the two builders and the physics of survival.
So the foundational physics of this entire system are introduced through two ancient builders. Take Noah and his son. Noah builds the adaptive moving ship, the wave, which in the text is the ṣafīna. But his son? He completely refuses it. He chooses instead to cling to the mountain, the jabal, acting as a fixed-point refuge. And the system establishes a really harsh, unbreakable rule right here. Rigid particles that cling to fixed refuges are going to drown, while adaptive waves survive. In a massive twist of irony, the mountain ultimately becomes the ship's destination, not its refuge. And this brilliantly illustrates the physics of protection. Consider the next builder, Dawud, or David. According to the topological mapping we're looking at, the chainmail he builds is essentially a wearable ship. It's flexible protection that moves flawlessly with the wearer. And because his son Solomon correctly receives this wave instead of fighting it, his kingdom flourishes into just massive expansion and profound wisdom. Moving on to phase two, scaling the archetypes. This is where the exact same mathematical logic scales up from a simple family dynamic to the clash of massive global empires. Think about it. Pharaoh is really just Noah's son scaled up to an empire. He's a man who looks at his visible physical throne and sees it as his mountain refuge. And because he refuses the wave, which is Musa's message, he drowns. Musa, on the flip side, is Solomon scaled up to a prophet. He receives the staff, which represents the wave, and he is totally victorious. The physics remain exactly the same, literally only the scale changes.
Now for phase three, the secret handoff.
So what actually happens when the visible system reaches its absolute limit? This is the climax of the entire circuit. At verse 30:14, Solomon dies while leaning on his staff. A termite eats the staff, and the visible kingdom completely collapses. The whole illusion of control is just shattered. But check this out. At the exact topological moment the visible kingdom dies, a secret handoff occurs. Verse 19:7 details the birth of Yahya, born to an elderly father and a barren mother. His birth is untraceable, completely secret, and entirely unprecedented. The lineage goes totally dark. Now you might be wondering, why does this matter? Well, by passing the signal through a hidden birth, the system creates a bypass that is completely invisible to the exact corruption that killed Solomon's visible kingdom. Our sources really emphasize that normal biological lineage, father to son to father, is highly trackable. And because it's trackable, it can be intercepted, it can be corrupted, or completely destroyed by worldly power. Going into the dark channel is what actually secures the signal. Which brings us to phase 4, verse 61:6, and the incorruptible loop. The transmission travels flawlessly through three very distinct stages of protection. First, you have the cave, a protected transit space that operates almost like a cosmic Faraday cage, preserving the signal while time just passes by outside. Second, it bypasses human tracking via that secret birth of Yahya we just talked about, the dark channel. And third, it emerges as Ahmad, described in verse 61:6. Ahmad represents the massless book, finally closing the loop completely free of any biological, corruptible ties. This is the ultimate defense mechanism of the Tesseract. Yahya breaks the visible chain through a hidden birth and hidden naming, a kunya, something completely unseen by creation. Then Isa, who famously has no visible biological father, announces Ahmed through this exact same dark channel.
Because Ahmed operates as the massless book, pure information, pure truth without a trackable biological father, the field literally cannot be intercepted. The true operational field bypasses corruptible, visible biological lineage entirely. And as verse 1964 states, your Lord is not forgetful. The sources point out that this isn't just a comforting phrase. It is a hard declaration of systemic perfection. The field executes exactly as it was designed to. The loop is sealed, the light is conserved, and the return completes perfectly. Absolutely no data is lost in this universe.
And finally, the circuit sealed, activating your coordinate. Here is why all of this matters to you directly. According to this framework, you are not just a passenger observing history. Coordinate 1912 reads, O Yahya, take the book with strength. The sources argue this is not just a historical command to a child. It is an activation switch where you, the reader, learn the origin of your own manifestation. The strength or the grip is the voltage required to lock you into the system. When you grip the book as operational memory, you shift from being a passive observer right into an active, structural participant in the eternal architecture. The cosmic circuit is live. Think about it. It has bypassed empires, it has survived the collapse of visible kingdoms, and it has transmitted flawlessly through the dark channels of secret births to reach this exact moment in time. The blueprint is waiting for its operator, leaving us with one final, undeniable question based on everything we've decoded today. When will you activate your coordinate?